So Donald Trump comes out swinging and wins in an all-out landslide in Iowa. Oh, I couldn't believe he won by that much, considering he didn't win Iowa in 2016. I mean, he was the president in 2020, so that goes without saying, but wow. And Vivek Ramaswamy drops out of the race. I could not be more disappointed in that. I can't believe he didn't have a better showing. I can't believe Nikki Haley beat Vivek Ramaswamy. I'm really having trouble finding anybody that supports Nikki Haley. Let me know down in the comments if you know anybody out there that supports Nikki Haley. I mean, this is a despicable person, to be honest with you. She has terrible policies, and it's just, I mean, if you want the United States to go to war, then sure, go ahead, vote for Nikki Haley. But I'm totally against war, so I cannot support her, and I cannot seem to find anybody else that does. So like I said, let me know if you know somebody that supports Nikki Haley. But what's up, everybody? How the hell's your day going? I hope y'all are having a pretty good day. As you can tell, I'm bundled up. It's cold out here in my little studio. I don't have any heat. Yeah, it's freezing. So if you see any steam coming out of my mouth, I can see it coming out, but I don't know if you guys can. But wow, it's freezing out here. It's cold here in Louisiana. I couldn't go to work today because of ice on the bridges. And it's just kind of crazy with the weather, but hey, that's to be expected midwinter, right? So, but what's up, y'all? This is Legitical Response. In case you didn't know, we cover political news, keep you up to date on exactly what's going on in the government so we can stay informed and we can stay on top of everything that the government is doing, because we need to know exactly what they're doing, because they do a whole lot of stuff that I don't agree with, and I know you probably don't agree with. The government is one big sewage drain where things go there to die, essentially. But hey, if you're interested in keeping up with that, smash that subscribe button for me and turn on your notifications. And if you also could, kindly smash that like button. I sure would appreciate it. It would be a big help. But enough of my rambling, right? Let's go ahead and get into, I guess we could call it a congressional update for what we got coming up this week. So let's get into it. Congress races to avert shutdown amid conservative anger. Yeah, this kind of pissed me off too. Well, I covered that story a little while back. They're proposing more stopgap spending bills. It's like, you know, you need to stop with these. We need to do our jobs. We send congressmen to Congress to do their jobs, but they can't seem to do that. They always want to just kick the can down the damn road, and I've had about enough of that. I thought Mike Johnson was going to do a little bit better, but obviously he's not. He's just fallen right in line with the establishment, and that could not be more disappointing from where I'm coming from, because we need somebody who's going to stand up to the Senate, especially right now, stand up to the White House with their insane policies and some of their insane actions. I mean, starting a war in the Red Sea, attacking Yemen, airstrikes in Yemen without congressional approval. The guy is lifting the fence, allowing migrants to come into this country illegally, shipping them wherever they want to go. Just get them out of here. Whatever. You know, we don't care. It's like, what is Biden doing? Biden has had one fail after another, after another, after another, and I don't know how much more of this our country can take. But there I go, rambling again. Let's go ahead and get into it, y'all. Congress is racing to fund the government by Friday's partial shutdown deadline, a heavy task that is bound to get weightier as Speaker Mike Johnson navigates growing anger in his conference over his handling of spending matters. And like I just said, he is doing a terrible job right now with all these continuing resolutions. I mean, like I said, we send them there so they can do their job. Work out these appropriations bills. We don't need some gigantic omnibus that has 80,000 little small pet projects in it for spending in this district and spending in this district. We don't need a statue of Nancy Pelosi in San Francisco. I don't want to pay for that. I don't know about you, but I'm tired of Congress spending our money irresponsibly. It's pissing me off. The mad dash comes after congressional leaders rolled out a bipartisan deal to avert a shutdown over the weekend, settling on another two-set stopgap bill that would keep the government funded into March. The Senate is scheduled to hold the first procedural vote for the legislation late Tuesday. House conservatives, however, are already coming out against the move, a reality that is sure to worsen headaches for Johnson as he works to keep the lights on in Washington before midnight Friday while also managing his warring conference. Yes, they are pissed. They are very pissed. Also for this week, the House is set, for now, to vote on a resolution to hold Hunter Biden in contempt of Congress, which they already done that. He crashed that hearing after President Biden's son defied a congressional subpoena last month, though the punishment could be pulled from the schedule if the younger Biden's team reaches an agreement with House Republicans to testify during a closed-door deposition, which he already said he would submit and go do that. I don't know what the hell they're waiting on. And the second of 4 impeachment hearings focused on Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas is slated for this week as the House GOP conference barrels towards trying to oust the embattled secretary. Yes, he needs to go. His policies are terrible. Like I said, his policies are the cause of many, many, many deaths. Many, many, many lives are ruined. And we've got a buttload we've got a buttload of illegal migrants in this country living on the streets, homeless, without a place to go. We've got some of them getting up to $7,000 a month in government assistance. What? I don't even make a third of that much money. That is just crazy. Right? They're building camps. They're taking over high school gymnasiums to house these people, taking gym time away from your kids, if you have kids in school. Let's keep going. Enough of my rambling. The Senate is scheduled to hold a procedural vote on the continuing resolution proposal Tuesday afternoon at around 5:45, officially kicking off the process to avert a shutdown by Friday's midnight deadline. The vote comes after congressional leaders announced a 2-part CR Sunday unveiling another version of the unconventional stopgap bill to avert a shutdown. The legislation would extend funding for programs at the Departments of Agriculture, Energy, Veterans Affairs, Transportation and Housing and Urban Development through March 1st and the rest of the government until March 8th. In a statement Sunday, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer acknowledged the quick pace that Congress has to consider and approve the stopgap to avert a shutdown, underscoring the need for bipartisan action. No, we don't need this. If it comes to a government shutdown to get some cuts to the budget, so we're not running in a deficit, so we can maybe stop that counter that keeps on counting up our national debt, if we can stop that, that would be great. If it causes the government to shut down, so be it. I don't care. We need some cuts in spending. This spending in deficit year over year over year is getting ridiculous. Something needs to change. We need to look hard at our congressmen and see exactly what they are voting on. You can go to the government website, Congress.gov, I believe it is. Look up your congressman and see exactly what they voted on, any bills they proposed. If they're not doing their job, vote for somebody else. Could be a Republican, could be a Democrat. I don't care. We need to clean out the sewage that is Washington. And that is the only way we can do that. Me and you. To avoid a shutdown, it will take bipartisan cooperation in the Senate and the House to quickly pass the CR and send it to the president's desk before Friday's funding deadline, he wrote. That bipartisan cooperation, however, is expected to be far from unanimous in the House, where conservatives are already voicing their opposition to the stopgap bill, even though it uses the same 2-part framework many of them backed during the previous shutdown threat in November in an effort to avoid a massive end of the year, whole of government, omnibus funding bill. And that's what I was talking about earlier. They throw in all these pet projects. Hey, let's just throw in another $60 billion for Ukraine and another $14 billion for Israel. And hey, do you want $200 million for your district to build a park? Yeah, let's go ahead and throw that in there too. That's where we're getting all these deficits from. My congressman, your congressman, that's who's doing it. And we need somebody who's going to stand up to these people and say, no more of this. We need budget cuts. It's only logic. We can't continue to spend in a deficit. Hardliners traditionally oppose CRs because they do not cut spending from the previous year, and many in the right flank are now demanding border security be included in the government funding fight, which is not the case with the proposed stopgap bill. That's right. The House GOP is planning to pass a short-term spending bill continuing Pelosi levels with Biden policies to buy time to pass longer-term spending bills at Pelosi levels with Biden policies. This is what surrender looks like, the House Freedom Caucus wrote on social media referring to the former Speaker Nancy Pelosi. That, to me, sounds like Chip Roy said that. Chip Roy loves to put it in your face. Just say it outright, because that's what they're doing. They're just continuing to spend money without any regard for the budget, for how much money is coming in. They spend more than they make. I can't do that. I don't think you can do that either. Yeah, there's a such thing called a credit card, but those credit cards have limits. So what does the government do? They just print more money, diluting the worth of our dollar and making it harder to buy things. That's why it costs almost double to buy just about everything now than it did from a few years ago. Inflation has killed our economy, and it's banks are going under, businesses are closing down. It's terrible right now. And they just want to continue to do this. Just continue spending all this money. Like we just have infinite money. Well, that's not how the economy works, people. Rep. Andy Biggs, a former chair of the conservative group, wrote on X, formerly known as Twitter, "Enough with the continuing resolutions," later adding, "We are doing the American people a disservice," and he is correct. That conservative opposition will mean that Johnson will likely have to bring the stopgap bill to the floor under suspension of the rules, a fast-track process that bypasses first approving a rule. Rule votes are typically routine procedures where the majority party votes in support and the minority party votes in opposition, but conservatives have voted against the procedural vote and therefore shut down legislative business several times this Congress to showcase their opposition to leadership decisions. But when operating under suspension of the rules, legislation requires 2/3 support for passage, meaning the stopgap bill will require heavy support from Democrats, a reality that is sure to incense House conservatives even more as it has in the past. 8 House Republicans voted with Democrats in October to oust then Kevin McCarthy, Speaker of the House, after he worked with Democrats to avert a shutdown, and hardliners criticized Johnson in November after he did the exact same thing. If Congress gets the stopgap proposed over the finish line by Friday, it will mark the 3rd CR Congress has had to pass since fiscal 2024 began at the end of September. Johnson's backing of the CR, to be sure, did mark something of a reversal for him. In November, the newly minted speaker said, "I'm done with short-term CRs," but he is backing one now, as it becomes clear that lawmakers need more time to complete the appropriations process. They've had plenty of time to do that. Congressional leaders reached a deal on top-line spending numbers earlier this month, but lawmakers need more time to hash out particulars in the 12 spending bills. The House is scheduled to vote on holding Hunter Biden in contempt of Congress on Thursday, but the vote could be yanked if the president's son strikes a deal with Republicans to testify. The chance of canceling the vote comes after days of public back and forth between Hunter Biden's team and House Oversight and Accountability Chair James Comer and House Judiciary Committee Chair Jim Jordan, which has led to a potential agreement with the two sides. Last week, Abby Lowell, Hunter Biden's attorney, told the committees in a letter that his client would be willing to sit in for a closed-door deposition if the panels reissued subpoenas requesting his testimony, a shift from their previous position that Biden would only participate in a public hearing. His legal team had been concerned that GOP lawmakers would selectively leak and misconstrue Biden's remarks following a closed-door deposition and instead offered to testify publicly. But if you follow this channel, you know that's not how it works. You can't do that. You go in for a closed-door deposition, they print out your testimony, and then later, once all the congressmen can read your testimony, then you go in for the public committee hearing, and then you get questions from the congressman. So you can't skip that process. I'm sorry, that's just not how things work. In his letter, Lowell argued that the previous subpoenas were invalid because they were issued before House Republicans voted to solidify its impeachment inquiry into President Biden. That's not true. Jordan and Comer, however, rebuffed the request, writing in a statement, "For now, the House of Representatives will move forward with holding Hunter Biden in contempt of Congress until such time that Hunter Biden confirms a date to appear for a private deposition in accordance with his legal obligations." Now, I want to say, I did say that's not true. That statement technically was true, but you still have the subpoena. You still have to show up for that subpoena. Who cares about the official impeachment inquiry, right? They've already confirmed that. I'm sorry, that's not an excuse to not show up for a subpoena. Just BS excuses, BS excuses. Last time it was a different excuse from them. They just wanted to say, oh, well, he's going to misrepresent what Hunter Biden's going to say. Well, that's not an excuse to not show up for a subpoena from Congress. But Sunday, the GOP chairs informed Lowell in a letter that they were willing to reissue the subpoena in hopes of getting Hunter Biden to answer questions. The committees welcome Mr. Biden's newfound willingness to testify in a deposition setting under subpoena. Although the committee's subpoenas are lawful and remain legally enforceable as an accommodation to Mr. Biden and your request, we are prepared to issue subpoenas compelling Mr. Biden's appearance at a deposition on a new date in the coming weeks, they wrote. Wow, this is a never-ending story. A spokesman for Jordan told The Hill on Monday that the panels are ready to pull Thursday's contempt of Congress vote if the two parties can set a date for a deposition. If they agree to genuinely cooperate and we can work out a deposition date, the chairman will recommend to leadership that we hold the floor vote on contempt in abeyance for now, the spokesperson said. House Republicans are seeking to hold Hunter Biden in contempt of Congress after he defied a congressional subpoena last month, failing to sit in for a closed-door deposition as part of the House GOP's impeachment inquiry into the president. Instead, the younger Biden delivered a public statement on the Capitol complex, which he said, "My father was not financially involved in my business." The Oversight and Judiciary Committees advanced a resolution to hold Biden in contempt of Congress last week, sending them to the full House for consideration, and I don't care anymore. They're just repeating themselves now. So we're going to talk about spending. Let me know down in the comments section if you can spend more money than what you make, a week, a month, a year. If you can do that. If we can't do it, the government can't do it. They're damaging our economy. They're damaging our pocketbook. They're damaging our ability to go out and buy groceries. They're diluting the value of our dollar and not giving a damn about us. Just spend the money you have. You don't have to have all these pet projects. You don't have to spend money here and spend money there. All this discretionary spending is getting really ridiculous. Like I said, $1.5 trillion deficit in spending. That is insane. That is very insane. Now we have a rogue president, starting a war in Yemen, just continuing dropping bombs on people for no apparent reason. You can defend yourself without going on the offensive like that without congressional approval. How about get congressional approval first before you drop bombs on people? This doesn't make any sense, letting migrants come into the country like they are. But that's all I got for this one, folks. like I said, let me know what you think about all this down in the comment section. You know, should we be spending money like it's nothing? You know, should we spend, you know, just continue to raise our debt, our national debt, until it, you know, whatever, and not care and just keep printing money and diluting the dollar? Or should we try to have some sort of fiscal responsibility and only spend the amount of money that we make? The government is bloated right now, folks, and like I said, a sewer is the best analogy for it. It's not a swamp, because swamps can be beautiful, you know, especially in places like right here in Louisiana, Florida. You can go out to a swamp and it's nice. Wildlife running all over the place. It's great. And I hate to do swamps a disservice by calling Washington a swamp. It's more like a sewage plant, getting rid of everybody's waste. People go there to die as people, and they've just become some husk of what they used to be, voting yes and no for whatever. It's all a bunch of crap. It's a broken system, and we need to fix it. That's just what I think. But let me know what you think, and y'all try to have a good day and be positive. Peace.